Parents are upset already. The lawsuits are being filed. They don't want the 10 Commandments in their kids' classroom. And here's what the governor of Louisiana has to say.
For the children who may not believe in God and see this in their classroom, or parents who are upset that they may be in their child's classroom, what should they do?
Well, here's what I would say. I think we've forgotten in this country that democracy actually means majority rules. For some kind of way over the last 2 decades or so, for whatever reason, our government has flipped the script, or the people believe that we flipped the script. When you elect people, you're elected by a majority. That majority gets to rule. That does not mean that if you don't like something, you have a right to impose that which the majority likes. And so what I would say to those parents is that if those posters in school and they find them so vulgar, tell the child not to look at it.
I love this. Jeff Landry, absolutely love this answer. Love that accent too. You know, my grandfather came from Baton Rouge. I love that Louisiana accent. He says, look, if for whatever reason you don't like the 10 Commandments, I think most people can agree. 10 Commandments, pretty good. You don't need to be the most Orthodox Christian or Jew. You could be kind of agnostic or even atheist. You can agree with thou shalt not commit murder. Thou shalt not steal. But even if for whatever reason something's going really wrong in your life and you just really hate the 10 Commandments, you want to go home, worship Moloch, worship the devil or something, just tell your kid not to look at it. It's just one little poster in a classroom. Just don't look at it. And I love this answer because this is the answer the libs give us when they upend every standard and norm and taboo in society. When they put up that rainbow flag in classrooms, they say, if your kid doesn't like it, he doesn't have to look at it. Really, what they want you to do is pledge allegiance to it. Oh, that pride parade? What, you don't like it when a bunch of naked dudes are committing all sorts of obscene, disgusting sexual actions on a float going down Main Street in front of kids? Well, tell your kid not to look at it. Just don't look at it, man. You don't have to. No one's forcing you to look at it. Okay, now that's what we're saying about the 10 Commandments. No one's forcing you to look at it. But I think if you can have mile-long parades multiple times per year for weird, gross sex stuff in every major city and many small towns in America, I think we can have a little corner of a classroom for the 10 Commandments. Don't you think? Is that okay? Because, by the way, until recent decades, certainly until the middle of the 20th century and even a little bit after that, we had this stuff all the time. We had the Bible taught in schools. We had prayer in schools until the liberals in the middle of the 20th century on the court decided to try to rewrite American law. If you want to talk about American history, sometimes the libs will try to invoke the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution or the Great American Tradition. They should be very careful invoking the Great American Tradition, because in the Great American Tradition, your kids would be taught the Bible and they would be praying in schools. The Great American Tradition is blasphemy laws throughout the country. The Great American Tradition is blue laws in accordance with Christian tradition. Okay? The notion that we're some secular, downright atheistic country where religion has to be banished from the public square, that is a fantasy that was concocted after the Second World War. That is not real. I mean, perhaps it is real now because the libs have been so effective at imposing it. But this is basic stuff. And you have to ask yourself, if in a classroom where the charge is to teach, we have public education to teach kids, and teaching involves reading, writing, and arithmetic. Teaching involves dates and history and skills, music and art. And teaching also involves, most basically, ethics. Good and bad, right and wrong. If we're no longer allowed to teach, thou shalt not commit murder, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, but we are allowed to teach, and we're actually forced to teach the ethics of the pride movement. Pride, the queen of all vices, is a good thing. The deadliest of the 7 deadly sins is a good thing. The pride movement, which makes all sorts of claims about sexual behavior, which are contrary to morals. What political rights do we have? What good is public education? If public education at that point would simply exist to make your kid worse, to make your kid dumber and more wicked. and you wouldn't be allowed to teach him in public school how to be good and smart. So at that point, what's it good? Just get rid of it at that point. Who cares? This is the final test as far as I'm concerned. If you can't have a poster of the 10 Commandments in your classroom, okay, get rid of the classroom then, man. It is good for nothing. Now, speaking of civics education, Nancy Pelosi has just raised a perspective about a new face on Mount Rushmore. So who's on Mount Rushmore now? You got Washington, you got Lincoln, you got Jefferson, you have Teddy Roosevelt, and she wants to add Joe Biden.
So he was in a good place to make whatever decision, the top of his game. Such a consequential president of the United States, a Mount Rushmore kind of president of the United States. Want to know what comes next?
That he belongs up there on Mount Rushmore. Lincoln and Joe Biden.
But you got Teddy Roosevelt up there, and he's wonderful. I don't say take him down, but you can add Biden.
You can add Biden. And she does it with a total straight face. What is this about? Does she really believe this? I like how she says, look, you got Teddy Roosevelt. Why can't? And a fair enough point. You know, I really like Teddy Roosevelt too. I'm not sure if he quite rises to the level of significance as the same as a Washington or a Jefferson or a Lincoln. She says, oh, you got Teddy Roosevelt. You might as well have Biden. Does he rise to that same degree of significance as even a Teddy Roosevelt? No, obviously not. He's one of, if not the worst president in American history. He's totally failed. He, despite begging to run for a second term, was really not permitted to, and no one even thinks he's really the president right now. And then while he's been in office, the economy has suffered. We're beginning to see that quite clearly. The world has gone up into flames. The border has been wide open. We've suffered an invasion that coincides with the worst mass poisoning in American history through the fentanyl crisis. It's just a complete disaster of a presidency. And Nancy Pelosi is actually a pretty smart woman, so she doesn't really think this. What is she doing? She is trying to curry favor with a man that she just stabbed in the back. She and Schumer and the Obamas and the Clintons, they all picked up Joe Biden, the cadaver with whatever little life was left in it, and they just threw it under a bus. And he's furious at them, obviously. She was asked, how's your relationship with Biden? I think her answer was, you got to ask him. I think it's okay. You got to talk to him, though, I guess. But he's so great. He needs to be on Mount Rushmore. The entire establishment media, which had spent weeks as they were trying to get him out of the race, saying that Joe Biden was completely brain dead and incompetent, mocking him and just absolutely humiliating this guy. Then the moment he drops out, they say, oh, he's a great American hero. He should be on Mount Rushmore. And I think Biden thinks, save it. You can stuff it, guys. You just shivved me in the back. That was a good clip, man. Now ring that bell, subscribe to the Michael Knowles YouTube channel. See you next time.